Welcome everyone. This is Pre-Anima Investor Day, part of CEEA Animation Experience. I'm Rika Anasakai. I'm going to be the moderator of the following workshop. The event was organized by CEEA Animation, Pre-Anima, and Butler. Let me tell you a few words of Pre-Anima for people who still don't know what it is. Pre-Anima is an international festival and competition of first animations. Besides the festival, it organizes educational and cultural programs through to the year at Butler, which is the first incubator house in Hungary that focuses on animation. The workshop was financially supported by the Creative Europe Media, the Republic of Slovenia, and the Slovenian Film Center. And now, let me shortly introduce you, our next presenter, Daniel Gray, who's going to talk about his film Hype. Daniel studied animation at University of Wales, Newport. He's made his graduation film Tom with Tom Brown. It received awards from Ottawa, Annecy, and Sundance, as well as the British Animation Award. Their next film, Teeth, was screened at more than 40 festivals and won numerous awards. His most recent film, Hide, is a co-production between the Cellule Productions, CUB Animation Studio, and the National Film Board of Canada. It was screened at many festivals and received special mention at Buenos Aires International Independent Festival. Remember that you can ask Daniel during the whole session on Facebook, or you can join us on Zoom. Sadly, Bella can't be with us, but first you're gonna see a video of her telling more about the production of this film. Enjoy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bella Szederkényi from CUB Animation. Sorry I can't be there with you guys, but I'm here to give you a couple of words about the production of the animated short title Hide, which was an interesting case because we had two Hungarian production companies and two co-production partners from another countries working on it. So basically there were four production companies working on this film to make it happen. Let's see the Hungarian partner, Official Films, first. We had to work with another Hungarian production company because there is this rule with the Hungarian funding body that you can apply with no more than 3 projects. And we already had 3 projects at that time in our pocket, so basically we just asked a friend who works for Official Films, basically he owns Official Films, and we asked him to apply with this project, and we agreed on the fact that once the film is delivered, then he will transfer all the rights to us. And it sounds simple as it is, but from the other co-production partners' point of view, it was a little bit unusual. So it created a lot of work for our solicitor and our translator and our co-production partners too, maybe a little bit. So we had a lot of paperwork about this, but at the end we made everything clear, and we managed to do all the paperwork, and we are pretty proud of it because we just made everything a bit harder, but we could figure out how to make it. But it was a very good lesson how to sort out a case like that. So now let's see our co-production partners, which were the Canadian NFB and the French La Cellule. I guess you are interested in how we found them and how this co-production was formed. First of all, we got the NFB. Basically, they were interested in Dan and Tom's previous film titled Teeth. Maybe you know that brilliant animated short. That film was done in a way that the boys did it in their free time, so they didn't need any producers or any partners on that film, so NFB couldn't take part in that film, but they were still interested in the boys' work. So once we were in Annecy, when Teeth was screened there, it was in competition in Annecy. So once we were there with the film, Maral, the producer from NFB, we just met her there and then showed the script of Hyde to her, and she liked that script so much that she basically contacted us at the same day, telling us that NFB definitely would like to be a partner in this film, in the production. So we already got NFB at that time. At the same time, we were applying for Hungarian funding, and we got it, as you might have guessed. But it wasn't a huge amount, and we didn't apply for a huge amount because at that time the Hungarian funding was only for kids content. They could slip in some artistic projects, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 in a year, but the fact was that if you apply with a lower amount of money, then you have the bigger chance to get it if you have an artistic project. So that's what we did. We applied with a really low amount, so we could just kick off the project and also prove to the partners that we got something. So we got the tiny little Hungarian fund, and we got the NFB. But we were still looking for a co-production partner from Europe, and we had Germany and France in our mind. And also we got that in mind that we didn't want to work with a huge company or a bigger company, because you know, there's always a chance with a bigger company that your project will be just one of their many projects. And if you work with a smaller company, then you have a bigger chance that they will be more enthusiastic about your project. Your project will get a lot more attention from them, and also a small company is always more flexible than a bigger one. So we decided to go with a smaller company. And when we were thinking about the French and German co-production partners, we had a little talk with our friend Olivier Catherine from France, who's a producer too, and he suggested us La Cellule, which is a small production company from Paris, and they used to have only live action films, but they decided to widen their portfolio, and they wanted to have some animated films too. So that's why Olivier suggested them, or at least have a talk to them. And once we had a little online chat with them, we decided that they have the energy and the positive vibes about the project, so we just decided to go with them. So this is how we got our co-production partners and also the Hungarian official films. So 4 of us were working on this film to make it happen. It was definitely a very adventurous ride from a producer's point of view too, especially with the pandemic kicking in when the animation part of the film was being done in France. The pandemic just kicked in, and we just were able to finish the animation in France, and then after then got back from France. A couple of days there was the lockdown was happening in all the countries, so we had some luck with it. Although the pandemic caused cash flow problems with a lot of companies, and also it happened to the La Cellule. So they had some cash flow problems because of the pandemic during the making of the film, but at the end we were able to manage these problems, and we had some organizing issues because of the pandemic, because we planned to do some parts in Canada, but then it was impossible to fly to Canada to make the sound design and some post-production, so we managed to do these things online in real time, which was a challenge for all of us, but it was a great experience too. So yeah, basically that's it. At the end, we are very happy to make this film, and we think it's awesome, and we are just enjoying the festival ride online. Hopefully soon we will be able to go to some festivals and enjoy it in cinemas, and we will be able to talk to the audience and some other professionals, which will be great. We are happy to have these partners. At the end, we were happy with La Cellule, and we plan to work with them on some other projects in the not so far away future. And to work with NFB was a dream, basically. And they were super cooperative, super helpful, super flexible. So we are really glad to be able to take part in this project. And hope you enjoy the film too. If you have any questions, then I'm sure then we'll be able to answer them. Thank you again. Bye.
Hi, I'm Daniel Gray, director of t.o.m, Teeth and Hide, some commissioned films. I'm presenting to you today Seeking Hide, What's Behind the Door, and this is going to be me talking through the making of the film from the beginning to the very end, to the premiere in Ottawa. I'll probably retread a little bit of what Bella said just then, but that's okay. So I'll start with a bit about me. I'm a Welsh animator. I've been working on short films and commissioned films for 15 years, I think. I've worked on commissioned films for Google and Nike and Coke and Dolly Parton, and some music videos. Hauschka was a good one. I'm originally from Wales, which is where I studied. My parents and siblings are still there, but since 2012, I've been in Hungary. This is where I started my new family, and this is the inspiration for Hide sort of begins there. So what's the film about? It's the film is a manifestation of my feelings about moving far from home. It's a way of describing a very modern twist on homesickness, where you can still talk to everyone all the time with messages and Facebook and photos and videos being sent, and see them. You can do all these things, and you can be up to date with all the local news and stuff. But where homesickness used to be like very easy to identify, sort of punch in the arm. Now it's more of a paper cut, because in the old days you'd send letters and you'd wait a month for your reply, and you'd feel that that sort of lack of data. But now you still have all that information, but there's something little, something hard to put your finger on that's still missing. And it's with like FaceTime and stuff like that and Skype, you're getting edited sort of highlights. It's an event of just the good bits, so you don't find out who's not feeling well, what shop has closed, who's not there anymore, or what's going on. And you can't be in the same room with someone and give them a hand, make a cup of tea, do the vacuuming as a treat. So this is me trying to pin down this emotion and work out what to do with them, if there's any resolutions, or it just is what it is. So that's what Hide is. So I wrote it before Teeth was finished, and Teeth was finished in 2015. So it's been written a while, but I wanted to have it written to take to festivals with me. This is a good tip if you're a short filmmaker and you go to festivals. Is you'll get producers saying they like your film, and they'll say, ask you what you're up to at the moment. And normally, especially with your first film, you say, oh, I'm going to finish the festival circuit, have a good time, sort of thing. But what a producer's actually asking you there is what are you working on now? What can I work with you on? So to have something with you and a good reply, I'm working on this film, I've got a script, would you like to see it? Is pretty much what they want to hear. So it's good to have something with you when you take your film to festivals. When I write, I have a particular technique which I know isn't mine uniquely. And what I do is I just throw, like, vomit words out onto the page, so I have a complete story. And it might be, a little bit crappy or whatnot, but I find it's easier to fix a crappy story than it is to try and write the best thing straight off. It's a lot more satisfying. It's a little bit quicker as well to do. This is when Annecy was when Teeth was at Annecy, and that's Morale from NFB there, and she asked what we have next. And she read it that evening. I gave her the script, and then the next day NFB were wanting to talk more about making the film. So CUB were in with us, and CUB found Cellule and NFB. So that's the team of producers on the film, which I think Bella's already gone into in more depth. So the first thing we did then was pitching for the Hungarian Film Board. We pitched with a storyboard. I use the same technique for storyboarding as I do for writing. I fill up, just knock out all the frames, don't really sort of spend too much time on trying to get perfect shots or anything. And then what usually happens then is you'll definitely get a few good, lovely shots, which are your favourites, which you've thought about before. And then you can start pulling the rest of the film around these set moments which you have an affinity for. And you can flesh out everything. And then sometimes you'll find your favourite frame isn't as good as the rest. And then you can start bringing everything up bit by bit. It's a nice way to work. So we had the storyboard done at the time. And we had some visual designs done. We had work by an illustrator, Lily. I wasn't really sure. This is the first time I'd worked on my own on a short film for a long time, so it's quite hard to remember what my visual style was. I'd worked on a music video for Hauschka before, which was useful. But we brought in a designer, and then we applied with that, and but I wasn't quite sure if that's something which would work for. So that pitch wasn't successful. They liked the story, but they could see we were a little bit lost visually. But that kind of helped me, push me towards the sort of visual style I did want. You know, it sort of precipitated in my mind what I was actually wanting. So I started to experiment and relax a bit and feel like I was moving a bit more in the right direction. I quite like working with an analog look. And so I went very analog to start with and then sort of bring it back to see where we were. So we applied to, again, with a more focused design and a tidied up storyboard. And we got our first funding then from the Hungarian Film Board, which was good. I think at that time we were already working on the Boardomatic and the Animatic, so which was ahead of time really. It's good to keep working on stuff and have as much stuff done as you can, I think. So even if you don't stop if you don't have money for something. You can keep working on your own and chipping away at it, and you find your other film eventually by accident sometimes. So and also if you've got a solid animatic when you go early with producers and stuff, it's easier to kind of resist too much change if you're confident in what you want the film to do. This is the first Boardomatic Animatic we had. I think no one's seen the film, or not many people have seen the film here, so I'll show you a quick bit of it. And this is from an intro which was in the film, which isn't in the film anymore. There you go. So the reason I took that intro out was it was one of the first things I storyboarded. I thought it looked really atmospheric and pretty, and I really like it still, but it didn't really bring anything to film. So once we got the rest of the film done, the question was sort of asked, what is it for? And I couldn't really give an answer other than it's pretty, so that went. So that's not in the film anymore. In the meantime, anyway, we got into the pitching competition at MIFA in Annecy, and that was a very good experience, but I definitely recommend going for. They basically run a pitching workshop for the week before the pitch, and they do it very well, so you get a lot of advice, feedback and practice, and basically make sure that everyone who's pitching at MIFA has an entertaining and compelling pitch. So at the very least, if you don't, get any kind of awards from that, you leave the experience with a very solid pitch for all the other moments you want to pitch for film. So it's very worthwhile doing that. So we pitched there, and then we also met up with all the producers at that event. So that's Bella and Bálint from CUB there, who both worked on the film. Bella's my wife. So we met up everyone, and actually our daughter's first festival was being run. So along with all that, we eventually won 2 awards at MIFA, and the film was pretty much the bulk of it was made with those 2 prizes. So the first one was a month at Abbey Fontevraud in France, and the second one is a cyclic residency in Vendôme. The Abbey Fontevraud one is a writing award, and the cyclic one is basically you do all your animation using their facilities and their staff. Just before going to the Abbey then, which was the first residency, I started doing test animation and comping scenes at CUB Animation Studios and setting those scenes up so that I knew what the pipeline was going to be before we started production stuff properly. That's obviously a very good idea to do that, so you're not kind of making it up as you go along, especially if you're ending up with people working with you. You need to be able to tell them clearly what they have to do, otherwise they start wasting their time. These are 2 tests I did. This was all done in TVPaint. That's comping as well, and animation and design. One of the tests closer up. Okay, and then we spent the month at the Abbey, and this was refining the final look of the film, and also painting all the backgrounds for all the scenes and setting up all the shots for the animators. So with setting up the shots, I was basically put the backgrounds in, set out all the layers and the rough animations I'd done from the animatic, just making sure everything was clear and labeled. And then in TVPaint, having custom panels, so all of the pencils were, the only choice of pencil they had to use was the pencil we needed. The only color they had was the color we needed, that kind of thing. So there's no confusion or accidents where one shot is in a slightly different color than the rest. These are some of the shots of me working out how I'm going to make this look and stuff. For the shots inside the cupboard, it was a very good moment when I sort of nailed down how that was going to work, because it wasn't entirely clear in my mind how I was going to get this sort of contrast and this etherealness about this space inside the cupboard. So that was a very useful experience in the Abbey. This is an example of one of the shots set up. This was set up and finished by so this is animated in colors, but you can see the custom panels on the top left, which have got the colors of the scene, and then the brushes for the painter. And then we've got all the color coded and locked layers for the painters as well there. So there's no confusion in the thing. It was all comped in TVPaint too. So when I was setting up each scene and designing the final look, I was sort of in essence comping the final shot at the same time. This meant that the final comping was a lot more focused when it came time to do. So as I'd had all the shots set up with all the background and colors, the comping in the end was pretty much fine-tuning the way the colored layers would move with the animation. So that's one of the benefits of using TVPaint was I could storyboard and do the animatic, do the design and setup, and comping all in one program, which, even though TVPaint isn't the sort of slickest for comping, it's not, you know, After Effects, it's, once you get your head around how it works, it's just as good, I think. And this is, the next thing was the Cyclic Prize. This is where we had all the animation done at the Cyclic facilities in Vendôme. So we were there for 9 weeks, and we had a team of 4 animators. I had enough shots to give them when we arrived, but I had to catch up a little bit because I hadn't finished them all from Vendôme, but that was all right because they wouldn't catch up with me. So while they were working on animation, I was animating some of the scenes and doing the special effects in the scenes and being a director. Cyclic itself is a really good facility. There's about I guess, 8 studio spaces, and they've got a big space set up for stop motion, big spaces for bigger teams of animation, and some smaller ones for more sort of intimate teams of 1 or 2. You can call it a team of 1. And that's all the crew. This is how our shot list looked. I'd normally print these out so we could put them on the wall and colour them in as we went along, because that's kind of more satisfying and fun, and works better. For the experience of working with a team of animators, this was the first time I'd worked with a group on one of our own shorts, and it was great to see it sort of being made so quickly, really. I like to work quickly, and I sort of picked up that habit from commercial short stuff and adverts. You normally get a 6-week turnaround for anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So the way I work is geared up to be pretty quick. In the previous films, it was sort of just me and Tom Brown with animation, and it would take a long time. With Teeth, we had to fit it in between other jobs when they came in, which meant that making Teeth took maybe 7 years or something silly. But the actual production with Hyde was probably less than a year, which was very satisfying. And yeah. And then midway through the animation, we had colouring studios started up in Angoulême. We had some funding from Angoulême as well. And they could start colouring at the same time, obviously. I went there for a week. No, a week. I went there for 3 days or something and supervised them, showed them the setup. But because the shots were set up pretty simply, it wasn't too hard. And that all worked really well. It was about this time we started having discussions about the ending, because I was playing around with the ending still, and I had an ending that I liked. So I was pretty relaxed about it, because it's your own sort of personal project. There was no sort of like push to have this ending nailed down, and the options I had meant that I didn't have to. It wasn't going to cost anything to change the ending particularly. It's a very sparse ending of the film. My personal preference for the ending was seen as a little bit too dark. So the ending in the story, in the text, which worked nicely in the short story, wasn't particularly truthful to the experience. I wanted to show it had quite a definite ending, and it was quite lighter. So what we went with in the end was like a mix between the lighter and the darker tone, or the super darker tone one, which has elements of the lighter one, but leaves enough information out for it to be darker. I know lots of you I won't show the actual ending of the film, because that will spoil it. But the ending in the text was basically the cupboard would open and everything was, okay. The process was sort of reversed. The process of the film was sort of reversed by the light coming in, which, like I say, worked nicely with the pace of the story, the written story, but it wasn't nice for what I was trying to say in the image. And then I'll show you the darker ending now, which is, I think, about a minute or something. I'll show you now.
Here I am.
There we go. So what happens basically there is nothing exists really anymore because everything is gone. And he's just says, here I am. So we went with something which was in between the light making everything better and that darker and a sort of nihilistic end. And I was happy with the ending as well. And the rest of the film was solid, so I wasn't too concerned. And then what happened, which happened to everyone, is the coronavirus pandemic arrived. We actually managed to just miss all the lockdowns with that, as far as the animation and colouring was concerned. So I was back in Hungary from France just as everything was starting to lock down. And from that point on, production-wise, it was just me doing the comping. And so that wasn't much of an issue. But then when it came to sound, which was meant to be done in Canada, I was going to go over to Canada for that. We started hitting some problems. So originally I was meant to go to Canada to supervise the casting and the recording of the actors, but all the restrictions and the travel bans sort of made this no longer possible. So I had to do casting remotely, which obviously wasn't ideal, but I think we only recast the dad. Everyone else was good, especially the little boy who you can see on the picture on the right. He was very good. So then the other issue then was when to record it, because there was a problem of getting the actors into the studios. It was discussed whether actors had studios in their homes or they could use, which sort of affected casting as well, because we were sort of narrowing down our choices there with, does this actor sound good, but do they also have a recording facility? After a sort of long time, it was sort of scheduled that the NFB could open some studios in a limited capacity with screens everywhere and big social distancing. And the recording got done then, but obviously it wasn't the perfect situation. And then I had to review the takes remotely, and we had to piece together some stuff. It obviously wasn't the perfect scenario, but I think we did well, and I was pleased with the ending, and we did good with that. With the supervision of the audio and the grading, we could do that remotely quite easily. There wasn't much to be done with the colour and tone, but I'd made a few framing mistakes. The film's actually made in 4K, but I made it with a standard HD Cintiq and display, which meant there were some things which I couldn't see. Things like if a single line of pixels which were at the edge of frame which were blank, and they happened a few times, but you just couldn't see them on a normal resolution screen. So I was sort of winging it as far as that was concerned. But in the grading, we were able to sort of zoom in a pixel, and then we'd get rid of that. To do it, we actually had a live link between Canada and Hungary with a full res color graded image live in real time over the internet. They sent a PC and a monitor over to Hungary to make sure it was graded exactly the same as the system they were using in the NFB in Canada. And that was really good. That was impressive to see happen and work. We were skeptical. And then we had to then do, this is a grading studio. This is a grading studio in Canada. And this is where we did the grading in Hungary, which is a cozy little room, but you can just about see their computer equipment and lots of screens there. And then we had to do the final approval of the audio, so we got to go in this it's a really nice room, and then we could hear the full surround, make notes, and then send it back, and then come in again for final approval. And then that was pretty much the film done. We had then, because of the COVID thing, then all the festivals have moved online, which was a new experience. So the premiere was Ottawa, which was a festival I'd always wanted to go to, but obviously we didn't on this occasion. But it was, first online one, and I didn't really know what to expect. And it was pretty weird. To be fair with Ottawa, they set up like a Zoom drinks, an event every evening, which actually worked quite well. People got involved and they had some sort of fun little themes there. But the screening itself sort of gave me mixed emotions. During the film, you were able to see sort of messages alongside of the picture. And people were saying nice things about the film as it was playing, but you sort of couldn't help feeling that you wanted them to type a bit less and watch the film a bit more. It felt like a sort of, I guess it's a bit of a spoiled, bratty thing to think, but but it was nice to see the good comments. And then after it's screened, when you see the film screened first time, that's when it sort of feels like you've finished the film. And so it's I still haven't seen it in a sort of on a big screen. So it still almost doesn't feel quite finished, which is a strange feeling as well. But I'm sure I sort of will in the future. And that's, looking forward to that. So that's pretty much the rambling explanation of how the film was made. And that was the last slide. So that's the end. Thank you for watching. I think Rachel will be back now. Thank you,
Daniel. I'm gonna check if we have any questions. If not, then I'm gonna be the one who's like asking you. I'm just checking. And remember that you can all ask like on Facebook or here on Zoom. So my first question would be about the style, because the things I noticed on your latest work and also this, that you're having this kind of visual style when it's kind of hard to like how do I describe it, but like you don't have like this really strong line art, and sometimes even the color like go beyond the line, and I think it's a really unique way, and it's really appealing. And I just wanted to know that if it's something that's coming unconsciously, or it's something that like the thing you like. So because the first draft of your visual was like more with clear lines, and you told me that you don't really like how it looked. So, and also with your latest work, I realized that you like better this. It's really hard to describe it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And if you could talk about like this visual design you were after, and why this is the one you're using, that would be interesting. Thank you.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying. I think it's so I started off doing sculpture, and then I moved into painting before animation. And I really, like lots of people, I really like having things with volume and the effect of light and how color affects the weight of an image and the composition of an image. And that's kind of the way I work now. It's not like a conscious decision. It's just how I like things to look. So I like things to have sort of weight and depth and a strong sense of light. And the kind of framing I use as well is normally quite, I kind of sort of almost try and break the space with the framing and then build the space up again with the color and the weight of it. So, and that lends itself to the kind of films you've probably seen like Teeth and Hide, because they have this sort of, I want to unnerve the audience a little bit. So I push that a little bit extra to have sort of these little broken spaces that feel solid, even though they're slightly broken. I think that's what you asked.
Yes, I actually realized that I read that you first like started with painting, and now that I totally feel like that I think this is the background that gives you this unique style, that I can kind of feel this play with the lights and the forms. My next question would be about like the story, because maybe I'm just like noticing patterns in your works, but for me it kind of seems like one thing that always interests you is like the whole life itself, because most of your movies like around this idea, and maybe it's a too philosophical question, I don't really know. So this is like a main theme that's always interests you, like looking at the whole like life, even like in Thief or in Hide, where you're actually like following the character during their whole or life. So is it like the topic that interests you in like in an artistic way, a philosophic way?
Well, yeah, it's so the first film we did was with t.o.m. I took just like a small snippet of life, and I kind of liked interrupting the life's narrative without having any beginning or end. And then with Teeth particularly, it was like taking a whole life but abstracting it away from the rest of the world. So you don't know how his particular narrative affects the outside world, really. It's all very singular and insular. And then with Hyde, it's there's more broader effect, I guess. He's almost in the film. The boy in the cupboard is almost watching a film inside the cinema, and then you're watching him watch this other film of some other existing life, which was something to play with as well, because that's how it kind of feels for me, watching, my parents and family's life go through this sort of crack in the webcam sort of thing. So the way I approach it is just for the story, really. I think it's probably incidental that well, not incidental, because obviously we write about lives and stuff like that, but it's incidental that they have that sort of similar look at a life. But with when I'm talking about the boy watching the boy watching the world thing, that's one of the reasons I really want to see it in a cinema, is because when you're actually in the cinema in the dark room and you just have the crack of light in front of you with the boy, it's a very different experience. It's like you're more inside the cupboard with him than watching him, which is nice.
Thank you. I watched this movie like many times, and I had the opportunity to watch it in an online festival. But I kind of like have a question about like symbols. So is it like a specific thing that the boy is in a book? Because one thing, maybe it was just for me that was like unique, that the boy is in like a closet and it's full of like glasses, and sometimes they like moving and I can hear it like really loud and everything. And my question is that it was an idea for you that it should be like the glasses moving everywhere and the clothes full of it, or is it like a symbol, or it just like I'm just seeing too much to it?
No. So for me, I wanted it to have this feeling that when he was small, going into the cupboard, that these glasses were very delicate, breakable objects which he has to sort of fit around, and then they become like almost a tripwire in there to reveal where he is. So it means that he has to be. I wanted a sense of tension about where this space was. And then at the end, when the glasses start to knock and fall, it's the tripwire which reveals where he is. And And then for why they were actually glasses and stuff is just because in my parents' house there's a cupboard which never gets open, which is full of hundreds of odd glasses and mismatching bottles and stuff. So the reason they're glass like that and delicate is like a tripwire to sort of get the film, to reveal where he is. I think that makes more sense when you've seen the film.
Yeah. I don't know actually how many people managed to like watch it. Before this, you talked about the character and how the design changed, and it just my opinion that I really like the way you go with the design, because I think that the characters don't have like this really clear lines, and even though I know it's a boy, but it could easily be sometimes a girl or anything. I think it's easier for the audience to like. For me, it was easier to see myself in it because everything was kind of blurry. And I think it's maybe, I don't know, like unconsciously again was a part from you that you wanted to be like more for everyone with this kind of style, which is always like coming from your paintings and like playing with the lights during the film.
Well, I won't say that it was designed to be so ambiguous that everyone can see themselves, but what I wanted. I sort of wanted to do this with teeth as well, was to have it so the image almost breaks to bits sometimes, so it becomes abstract like blocks, and the character in the cupboard being close. There's points where you can lose the character in the landscape of everything because he's so close, and I imagine it on a big screen, and I imagine that effect sort of multiplying even more. And I think in a way it does remove the hider from being between the viewer and what's happening. But yeah, that's basically the intention. I wanted it to sort of the character to disappear sometimes amongst the color and the shapes.
Thank you. And you mentioned your experience with online festivals. But like, as far as I know, your movie gonna be actually on the Frischlush Film Festival, like starting next week. So you can actually be able to watch it. So what's your feeling about this? Like,
well,
are you excited?
I don't think I can watch it because I had my second vaccine on the 27th.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah,
but I think they're gonna make this like public screenings also, so maybe you can attend that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think I'd need my vaccine card to be able to go in. So I think the first time I'll be able to see it is hopefully in Zagreb, which is in 7th of June. So I think my 2 weeks and everything will be ready then. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to make some friends go and see it, freshies.
Yeah. I wanted to ask. I mean, I'm sure even if you like still can't attend, I'm sure you're interested in the audience, like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
reaction.
I got a sort of a small taste of it when we were doing the final approval for the sound, because the screening room there is basically a cinema. So the effect I wanted to happen was working in there, where you did feel like you were in that shared space, but I like watching with people as well. Because when if you ever see teeth with an audience, you can feel people holding their breath quite a lot with some of the more body horror-y sort of moments.
Yeah, I remember watching it in a Hungarian festival. Yeah. And I had a friend who really like bad with like all of this kind of grotesque stuff, and she was like all the time there was parts when she couldn't even look. She had been down when it's over because it's like too much. Especially I think that like it is something that some people. I mean, even if I think about it, it's like I'm just like getting the goosebumps.
Yeah. So that's something I'm really interested in, and something lots of people are interested in, is that reception theory. Is in I try and make the films for to have a group of people watching it and try, and I don't know if this sounds cynical or whatever, but I enjoy it. It's like a puzzle or a game almost between me and an audience, of trying to get a very shared emotion between people. And the more sort of more people who kind of get to share it, it sort of cascades on a bit, and you can get real sort of tensions and stuff in the room, especially with short films where you've only got the audience for like 5 or 10 minutes. You can do some interesting things with narrative and the feeling of the room.
On the first masterclass with Eva, I had about the question about online festivals, and I kind of want to know your opinion, because we were talking about that. As you said, it's bad that you can't really see the audience interaction, but we just talked that I think there's like good parts of it, because you can attend like actually meeting with the other directors. Because I mean, if your film actually gets into a lot of festivals, you're not always able to go there, but this way you can actually like meet them. And local festivals changing to this hybrid part when there's going to be something online and in person. And like, what's your opinion about this?
I think everyone's kind of feeling their way through the situation, to be honest. I don't have any particularly strong emotions either way. I think with the festivals going online, I know some people would hold back their films and stuff, but I think the main thing we have to do is kind of support the directors have to support the film festivals when they're kind of in a time of need at the moment. So I think we still have to send out films and support them, because they support us so well when they actually have the festivals in person. The hybrid ones, I think, is well, it already really happened, didn't it? When you had a big festival, there was always the press sign-in, and you could still see the films online and stuff. So it's kind of an extension of that. Has to be like some geo-locking and stuff for screening, because it starts affecting the rights of the films if you want other festivals or selling rights or whatever, if it's already been shown. But yeah, I think everyone's sort of making it up a bit and finding the good ways. And I've had online festivals like Ottawa where you really did have good interaction with the other directors. But then there's I've seen or been involved in a few other online festivals where it's just you didn't really have any interaction, and it was just like a YouTube channel, I guess, and there wasn't any sort of designated moments or silly little things you have to do. But yeah, I think we're all making it up.
I think it's kind of hard to guess, but I also agree with you that I think it's great that some of the online festivals you have the opportunity to meet like other directors.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that this was the first film that you made in a bigger group, and you also have like support from like many places. And my question is like, was it like hard for you, this experience, or was it something that like you felt like you always just wanted to do it again in this way? So if you could talk about like this, how it felt that you have like more countries and like more founders.
Well, I think so. I've worked with bigger teams before on commercial projects, but it's different when it's your own personal project. And like I mentioned in the presentation, there's 6 weeks to turn around like a 2-minute project, and maybe you'll have 10 people or 12 people or whatever. And you don't really have time to mull over what's happening, and it's not your idea or your story, so it's not so precious. So working with the team was, I think, basically it was really good. It was very different. It was very different from the other experiences of making films, because I think the biggest thing was there was funding, and there was, I had some money as well, which didn't happen with other films. So you could dedicate your time to it more fully. Working with a team, I took experience from working on commercial projects, so everything was super well prepared for them, and that made it quite relaxing almost. I was, there were things I had to do and deadlines and stuff, but I knew exactly what those things were, and I knew exactly what everyone else was doing, and I made as little room for error as possible. With, like I was saying, if you get sometimes when you're working with people, you'll find that someone's used a grey pencil instead of the black one, or slightly different. You've got to think of those things before and then make sure there's no room for those sort of accidents. So it was great. It was relaxing. I couldn't compare it to working with Tom on Teeth and stuff, just because they were 100% different experiences for me. Your question regarding producers from all different countries and stuff, I kind of tried to stay out of all the contracty stuff on purpose. This was the first short film I'd made when I was a producer. Me and Tom would just do that ourselves before, because there's no all that role. So I consciously wanted to just be the director, really, and the production manager, and I could see there was a lot of stress happening with cross-border contracts and odd little quirks going on here and there. But like I said, I sort of tried to stay out of that. And Morale and Bella and Bálint and Marion and Soya are all really nice. They're all great people. They're all really enthusiastic. And so what the experience I had was just them personally, really, rather than business.
Thank you. Meanwhile, I got some questions, so I'm gonna ask them from you.
Okay.
So one of the questions is like, did your family see your movie? Because you're told me that it's like from your experience, and what they felt about it.
I haven't shown my family them, to be honest, because when I wrote the story, it was meant. So I like to write about my feelings in a sort of non-literal way. So, and I try and make the audience have a feeling rather than tell them what I'm feeling. So when I started writing the film, it was like what the boy was watching was sort of like kind of my fears a little bit and my guilt a little bit, but they weren't real, as in they weren't literal. But unfortunately, as the film sort of production went on, it became more of a literal film. So, yeah, my mum passed away a few months ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so it sort of became more real. And now I have a sort of feeling that it might be a bit mawkish to show. So I'm trying to find the right moment. I'll probably go sit down with my dad and watch it. We'll work it out.
Another question I got is that you made this movie like in like 3 countries, and you were traveling and everything. And also the theme of this movie is like homesickness, and like how it affected the whole like artistic journey, because you actually like made a movie about homesickness and you were like traveling everywhere. So
yeah, it was so to go when we went to Cyclic and stuff, it was meant to be me and Bella, who's the producer but also my wife, and our little girl. But we were pregnant. Bella was pregnant at the time, and there was some complications, so she couldn't travel in the end, so I had to go on my own. And that was a difficult period because of, complications and things. And yeah, it's so, and then the same things were, so then stuff was happening with mum at home and stuff. So it did sort of start making the film a bit more, a bit different actually, because it started, like I say, it started off as me sort of dealing with what ifs and these feelings of eventuality, and then things start coming true as we make it. So it made it made the sort of dark feelings around the film more apparent. which was good because it was sort of art therapy in a way. As in I was already trying sort of ahead of dealing with these emotions.
I also have a question, because at this moment you have like 3 short movies behind you. Yeah. And my question is that would you be interested working on a feature movie or a series, or short format is something that like fit you and you don't want to like move from it?
Say the last bit of the question again. So
like short film format is something that you want to stay with, or would you be interested in like a feature movie or series or something else?
So I'd like to work in feature, animation, live action. It doesn't. I'm not really fussy, or I'm not really stuck in short films. I love doing short films because it's a very convenient way to tell stories for me, because I can sit down, and lots of people can do this in the animation world. You can sit down and we can make a film on our own if we want. We don't have to find an animator to tell our story, or find a storyteller to animate to, so for me, if I want to tell a story, I can tell my stories. But at the same time, I know I can give a certain lilt to stories, and I can tell other people's stories, and I'd love to do that sort of thing as well, live action or animation, whatever. I think it's all very transferable, a skill, and I like a challenge. It's fun to be uncomfortable a little bit. But at the moment, we have I have a short film of my own I'm working on, and at the same time, we have a short we pitched at CEEA, which is a Hungarian children's book called Milu's Dog, which isn't my story, obviously, but that's an interesting thing for me as well, because it's not my story, but it's got room in it to have a little edge of darkness to it, but it's also very much a child's adventure. So
yeah, I actually wanted to ask you, because the first film, like you directed it with Tom, and yeah. Now you were a director alone, and how was it to do it alone? And also my question would be that you kind of answered that, what's your plans for the future, and is there anyone you want to work with as a director or anything like that?
So you're asking how it was to work with Tom and then to work alone?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Tom's asked me this question publicly on sort of on the Glass animation festival thing, which I thought was very cheeky of him. But the honest answer to that is you can't really compare it, because when I was working with Tom, there was no funding or anything. We were doing it all on our own and in between jobs. Whereas the biggest difference was there was a team of people, and there was finance and stuff. So yeah, I can't begin to compare them. I need to work on a job with Tom where we've got funding and stuff. Who would I love to work with? That's a very big question. There's loads and loads of people I sort of admire and stuff. I think I'll probably work with Tom again at some stage in the future. I'm sure we'll have a project and we work well together. But I guess I'd have loved to have worked with like Roald Dahl a little and Quentin Blake a little bit, because he tells really dark sort of stories, which I really enjoyed. His adult stories are good too. And Gunter Grass would have been great to work with. As these are all writers, I'd love to work with like the writers I like.
Thank you. My next question would be like, as you're living in Hungary for a long period now. So what's your experience with the Hungarian animation film industry? And you're planning on like staying, so like you're living it, or you want to work with like more countries in the future? So do you have like any plans for this?
well, as to working with countries, I kind of like, it's, you know, we can ignore borders and stuff, can't we? It's all fine. So, you know, whoever's interesting and whoever's interested, if there's a good project, then it's a good project. Animation in Hungary is insanely good and insanely healthy. I mean, I've been here for 9 years, and it just, you know, every year is always a big, strong sort of contingent of animators coming out of like MOME and stuff. MOME. And what's really interesting as well, I don't know why, but in Hungary it seems to be the women animators, the girls seem to come out strongest and seem to have all the best ideas. And I look at all the other countries and stuff, and it doesn't seem to have such a strong army of people wanting to sort of tell stories and things. So that's something which sticks out when you hear and you're looking at all the talent and stuff. And obviously I like to leech all the creativity out of here for myself.
Thank you. We got another question, and it's like, what motivates you to making like content for kids? And like, is it important for you what you're gonna show to your kids, or is it something that you're getting interested? Because right now you're also like a father.
So I don't. So what motivates me to make content, I think, is an easier question to answer. For me, it's kind of just the way I was saying with lots of people, it's just the way I kind of digest my thoughts a little bit, and how I like to have no thoughts as well, just to sort of, you know, I've just started drawing in a sketchbook again properly, because I hadn't been able to draw in one for a while because we were doing the project, and everything you draw is to do with the project. So the motivation is I like to make stuff, really. I get a nice feeling. You sort of get in the zone and you do things, and you have sort of endorphins and stuff. I don't know, it's weird that you get it from drawing and stuff, but I'm sure athletes get it and stuff, but so do people with pencils. So making content for kids, it's not specifically something I focus on. It's something I'm interested in, because it's a hard space, I think. It's a hard thing to do, especially, this is something you notice when you have kids, is it's very hard to keep their attention and to inspire them almost. So that's kind of like a little puzzle almost, and it's a challenge.
Yeah, I think making good things for kids is especially hard. So like,
it's like, what are they thinking?
Yeah, and like trying to find like high quality like animation for kids, I think it's really hard lately, because there's a lot, and they're making too much, I guess, and like. Yeah,
it's a lot of choice out there, mate. But I think that's one of the things which is good with the Milu project, is the art style isn't necessarily for children if you go seek it out and look at it, but it's still, I think it's still charming and would work with that sort of thing. So that's one of the things which attracted me to that as well.
So you're working on something that like for kids, but also enjoyable if like an adult watching it, especially like visually. Yeah,
I kind of have this idea in my mind that there's an aesthetic that is, and there must be, there's obviously is, which is pleasing for you know, adults and kids. There must be. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Must be. There's so many adults like Pokemon.
I like Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. It's an aesthetic for children, and adults like it.
Yeah. I mean, if there's like a good content for kids, I think you can. I mean, it's important that you enjoy it, especially like if you go to a feature animated movie and you go with your kid. I think it's really important you as a grown up enjoy what you're watching, and most of the good feature animation is something that you also can enjoy in like any age. I think it's really important, and it goes the same with the like series.
Yeah, absolutely.
if anybody would like to ask before we finish, this is your chance on Facebook or here. But if we don't have like any questions, then thank you for this amazing presentation. And don't forget that you can watch Hide at Fish Film Festival, which gonna start next week. So people who's like already vaccinated, they can go. And yeah, before I let you go, I would like to ask that where's the Mills project going? Like, where you equipped, or when it's going to be finished? Or can you give us like secret details about it?
For Milu, well, we're still looking for production partners, but I have no idea when it's finished. Hopefully soon. I don't like to work on projects that take too long. And then for my short, that'll be fitted around Milu, I think. So that'll probably be a few years. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it quickly.
Yeah, I think it's good if you don't spend too much time on one project, which is just gonna go crazy. And like, I mean, we also talked about this with Ava, that you need to let go of project, and I think it's really hard, especially since you always like seeing the mistakes and you wanna like fix them, but no, you need to have a deadline for yourself, or you're just gonna do it forever, even a short film. I have a feeling. All right, so thank you again for this amazing workshop, and thanks for answering my questions. And remember that people can watch your film and on Fish Film Festival, and I hope that we will be able to meet in person in a film festival in the future. That would be really awesome.
One day.
Thank you again.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for having us.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.